Alright, how's it going, everyone? So this is a watch that will definitely get some people all sorts of polarized, one way or the other. We're looking at a Rolex Explorer 2 16570. This is an A serial, it's from 1999, and it's probably one of the very first with a superluminova dial. You can tell that because it says Swiss made. So this is a transition period, this is the transition year. So 98 and like super early 99 they had tritium dials, would say Swiss T less than 25 to let you know that was tritium. Obviously those ones are getting old now, so the lume is pretty much shot and they're starting to get patina. They had, for a while, let me clean the crystal. For a while they had Swiss, they would say just Swiss on the dial. And those were luminova dials, not superluminova, so the earlier tech. And then they rapidly transitioned to superluminova, which said Swiss made, and those fully came into their own year 2000 and on. So, very early example of a superluminova dial. You can see it's a 40mm watch. It's got the traditional twin lock, which you can tell by the bar on the crown. You can see down at the bottom. There we go. It's a holes case, and it's got hollow end links. They did make a couple years where they had holes case and solid end links. Those are very desirable among some people now. It doesn't bug me one way or the other, so I'd rather pay less and get one with the holes case but without hollow end links. I do like the holes case. It makes it a heck of a lot easier to change the strap, which I do fairly often. I love the bracelet, but we'll talk about that later. So, those of you who are not Rolex people, Oyster means case, and this case is rated down because it's got the twin lock, 100 meters. Perpetual means it is an automatic watch. Let's see if I can get the focus better here. Come on now. Stop focusing on the thumb. There we go. And then date, you can figure that one out for yourself. Explorer 2, there's an Explorer 1. It's, at this period it would be a 36mm, basically date just without the date, and designed for mountaineers. This is ostensibly designed by Rolex in the 70s for cave explorers. Originally did not have a jumping hour function. This just told you the red hand just told you whether or not it was day or night, basically. People refer to the Steve McQueen watch for that first watch, but Steve McQueen has never owned one as far as anyone can tell, so whatever. But in the 80s, they switched to the same movement that the GMT Master has, so then you end up with a fixed bezel watch with a jumping hour hand. So for those of you who don't know what a jumping hour hand is, I will unscrew the crown. And in the second position, you can jump the hour. So that's what we got going on here. It does not have a quick set date, so that's how you set the date. You jump it. You just go around 2 times, and that jumps the date forward. It goes forward or backward, which is kind of nice. So the third position, instead of setting the hour hand directly, you set the 24-hour hand, and that sets the hour hand by proxy. So what you do when you set this watch is you get the date close, but not exact, and then you set the 24-hour hand at the time that you want for the 24-hour hand, and then you jump the local hour to hand to whatever time you want for the local hour, and make sure the date's set correctly. So I like this kind of GMT. I like it a lot better than the ETA version where the GMT hand jumps. This is nice because when you're flying and you get to your destination, you just land and jump it however many times you've changed time zones. Some people don't like the fixed bezel because it takes scratches like super easy, because it's radially brushed out instead of being brushed circularly. Doesn't bug me. Pros for this watch, it's a super thin case. I mean, just incredibly comfortable. I will do a video later on it with like a kind of an in-depth features review where we talk about dimensions and weight and stuff. But just want to give you my first impressions. Just super comfortable. People knock the bracelet, but I like the bracelet. It's stamped. Yes, I know that. We all know that. It's got a fold-over got a ton of micro adjusts on it, which is nice, but just a stamp clasp. Nothing, doesn't try and pretend it's something else, doesn't try to be some fancy thing. Just a stamp clasp. Stamp everything is stamped. This is really thin. It's secure enough. Yes, it's got hollow end links and hollow mid links, but hey, it's got screws, which everybody gets their rocks off about. So I got no problem with the bracelet. It's comfortable, it's light, it does what it's supposed to do. I love the dial. It's kind of hard to get a good video of the dial, I'm realizing, but it's a beautiful midnight black, jet black, kind of an enamel style dial. I don't know if it's actually enamel or not. Get my hands out of here so that hopefully it focuses. There we go. I like the Cyclops, makes it easy to read the date. I don't have a problem with it. Since this is a sapphire crystal, some of them earlier ones had acrylic crystals. That wouldn't bother me either. The crown is actually, despite it being thin looking, it's actually super, super comfortable and really easy to use. I love the crown. I like the hands and the indices. They're really well done. They're white gold. The machining on the hands means that they catch the light a lot, which is useful for reading, and since this doesn't have any AR, so you're relying on the reflection of the, since you're going to have glare in the crystal, you're really relying on the reflection of the hands to tell the time. But it's pretty reliable. Mine was keeping, for the first few weeks, it was keeping like dead. I wore it 24 hours a day for the first little while to test it out. It was keeping like dead on 5 seconds a day. Like, you check it in the morning, it'd be 5 seconds a day. You check it in the nighttime, it'd be 5 seconds a day. Like 5 seconds a day, like nothing. Now it's been 5.5-ish a day average. It's like 6 during the day, and then I let it sit at night, and it drops down to like 2, plus 2. So it's running about 5-ish seconds a day, depending on how long I sleep, basically. But yeah, cons, the loom pips. The loom is actually really good. I have no problem with the loom. A lot of people don't really, they knock the loom, but they don't really realize that there's kind of two main components for loom, as far as how legible it is, how bright it is, and how big the size of the pips are. So this one, it's probably on par with the Black Bay 36 that I did. But since the loom pips are smaller, it's kind of hard to read in the early hours of the morning. But like I said, I wore it all night for a couple of weeks, and would read it at like 4 or 5 in the morning in the pre-dawn, and you'd have to squint a little bit, but you could totally read it, no problem. So not amazing loom, but definitely, you know, could be improved, and they did improve it with the Maxi pips on the newer ones. So fit and finish, I really love, got no problem with it. It's exactly what a Rolex in my mind should be. Yes, it's expensive. I mean, am I going to knock that? I guess, but I mean, I'm going to do another video on my thoughts on Rolex as far as like a philosophy, but I think this is kind of the epitome of what a Rolex should be. So the only con I really got is the loom, and otherwise that's really it. It's got, I mean, it's just a plain case back, regular old Rolex, just does its job. It's nothing to write home about. But yeah, I'll be doing an in-depth review a little later on once I've worn it for a little longer, but I just want to give you first impressions. So thanks. Have a good night. See you in the comments.